Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Resilience series. As we share with all of you live tonight, we have our special guest, Allison Garner, who I'm so excited to have her share all of her wisdom and knowledge with all of you tonight. And I just appreciate everybody that has chimed into the Resilience series over the last several weeks. It has been such a joy and honor to be able to bring individuals into the space and just have them share about ways that they've been able to overcome challenges over this last year and talk about how they have been able to remain resilient during some really difficult and challenging times that we all have faced. It's been inevitable. And I am just excited to be able to even continue this series and be able to bring light back onto a difficult subject, right? It's been a hard year. Rise Together has faced many challenges, and we have been able to overcome many challenges. And with that, we thought, what better way than to bring people together to connect and to help revive Rise Together and support of our Rise Together Strong fundraiser. And so if any of you are watching this, be sure to if any way to either share this video, support youth programming, talk about the things that we're sharing, share the videos. It's also shared on YouTube too if you're watching this at a later time. But again, I just wanted to express my gratitude for our community for showing up. I am just incredibly grateful. My name is Nadine Machkovech. I am the executive director of Rise Together, and it has been an honor to be able to step into this position and just bring our community together over the last few weeks. So thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you, Allison, for being here with us. I'm so excited to bring her to our community. You've done work with us in the past. You've done work with me individually and Anthony, as well as our organization as a whole. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you as a friend, coach, mentor, somebody that has just helped to change my life. So thanks for being here with me.
I love it. Oh, thank you for having me. I'm always honored. And thank you for asking.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I think people all have stories to tell, right? And we just don't ask. And so when somebody actually asks me, I'm honored to share a story. I like to share what's going on in my life. And if it can help one other person in this world, then it's worth doing. So thank you for asking me.
100%. Yeah, you're welcome. And, at the same time, I think it was, if I remember correctly, so almost 5 years ago that you heard Anthony's story. And that's how you got connected with Anthony and Rise Together. And we've been able to do many things over the last several years. We've done individual coaching with you. You've helped mentor our organization. We've participated in your leadership intensives. We've also hosted
we did rock climbing.
Yeah, we went rock climbing. We hosted a women's empowerment conference.
Yes.
2 of them.
Yes.
Endless. And you helped coach our youth in our Discovery Corps program.
That's right. Yes. I love that.
Yeah. And you just have helped not only as a friend and to Anthony and I personally, we're just so grateful for you, but also just have helped open our eyes and to learn new things and try new things and go out of our comfort zone, lean into the discomfort, and just really be able to step into being our full true selves. And so thank you so much for all the incredible work that you've helped us do. And so in that, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are and the work that you do today and kind of how you stepped into the coaching space and where you're at with that.
Okay. Wonderful. So I'm the owner of a company called Thoughtly, and we create and curate leadership experiences that are thought-provoking for our clients. We really love to do the work that's edgy. It's a little confronting. It can be uncomfortable at times. And the reason we love doing that work is because when we watch our clients transform like you guys, right? It's the best. It is a gift. And yet, I have to say each day I work with people, there's always a little bit of oh boy, I don't like to make people uncomfortable. I'm not inhuman. And I don't like poke people till they cringe just because it's fun.
Right.
So it's really hard for me because I'm a recovering people pleaser. So for me to actually like create an experience of discomfort for somebody, it's hard. It's really hard for me. And the reason I can do it is because I can see, and I have a vision, and I have a really deep-seated belief that it will lead them somewhere. So that's the company. Everybody inside the organization now really believes in that vision. And so it's exciting. We're growing, and we just rebranded. So now we have pretty things, which I'm not one of those people. So it was so fun to have like branding and marketing and graphic design make things gorgeous, because I just don't, right? So that's been really fun to like now have a logo and a company name that I'm really proud of, that really represents the vision. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing. I think,
Yeah.
and just to share with those that are listening, just because I think it's hard to step into, get like into the uncomfortableness and learning more about yourself and wanting to participate and learn from other people. I think we want to, but then we also don't always know how, right? Or we don't really have the tools or the resources, or we don't even know who to get in contact with.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like this industry, I spent 20 years as an engineer. And when I got into the industry of, leadership and executive coaching, it was like the wild, wild west. There's no platform where you can go and find somebody. You don't, like, when you hire somebody, you look for somebody, how do you decide? Because there's coaches all over the world, and where do you even begin? And I think that's still a problem today. So I don't have the answer for that. So what I've tried to do is create community of my own, that then people can feel part of that community. And then if they would like additional supports, then I can help them. I can send them to I network and work with my own coaches. So I have a whole community of coaches that I work with, that I can send them to. So, but yeah, it's not a well-organized industry yet. I'm not sure it ever will be, but it certainly isn't right now.
Right. No, I agree. And I think, that perfectly segues into my next question, because I think as coaches and within the leadership space, and a huge conversation of why we're doing this resilience series is what it looks like as leaders to show up and take care of ourselves so we can show up and serve our community, right? And one of the things that I asked you when we were kicking this off is, what did it look like for you? Like, what was the greatest challenge that you faced over this last year? And what did you do to overcome that challenge? And it kind of resulted in this conversation of looking in the mirror. And so I would love to hear, what that means to you. And what was this, I know we all faced different challenges this last year, but what would you say, was your greatest challenge, and how does resulting and looking in the mirror help you?
Okay, so besides my hair and this humidity being my biggest challenge, I am like, you don't realize until you see yourself on video and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't what it looked like. This year, right, if we were to look back from like August of last year to August of this year, I have to say, if I were to overgeneralize, it was really, what's the right word? It's around creating relationship with my kids, and my husband, trying to, I guess it was to heal the family. That was really our biggest challenge. Last August, our oldest son was not here. He is a recovering addict, and he also suffers from pretty significant mental health, mostly depression. It's chronic. Meds don't work for him. So he went for drugs and alcohol, which, does what it does. But that kicks the can down the road, because then you got to deal with that too. So we enrolled him in a 1-year program in Arizona. So he was gone. And then we had his younger sister, who's only just under 2 years under him. And she too struggles with pretty significant mental health struggles. She has borderline personality disorder. And that's just a fancy name for, like, she has all of them. Like, sometimes she's anxious, sometimes she's depressed, sometimes she's manic, Sometimes she's ADD, sometimes she has an eating disorder, other times she's self-harming, sometimes she's suicidal. So it's like a lot of impulsivity and a lot of erratic, unstable, like she's just unstable most of the time. And so she too had gone to a program away from home for a year. And then Bodhi, our oldest son, went away. And so like he was gone. We're trying to put our family back together. We're trying to get our daughter acclimated to home. And last August, she attempted suicide and we almost lost her. And so like, here we are thinking like, right? Like, how do you end up here where you have a daughter who's intubated and unconscious at Children's in Milwaukee, and you have a son who is his problems are so big that he literally can't live in our house. And like, what do we do now? Seriously, where do we go? So that was our biggest challenge, was like, we've done a lot of the therapeutic work. I've always worked with a coach. How do we put this whole mess back together? And what is that even going to look like? And what I think I found now a year later is, that's really what I want to share with everyone. And that was that it's always been looking in the mirror. It's all like when I first went into Al-Anon, when my husband was actively using back in 2008, that's what they kept saying, just keep coming back. We won't talk about the alcoholic. We're going to work on ourselves. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I need to know how I get him to stop drinking. And they were like, you're so cute. Keep coming back. We'll see you next week. And I was like, I don't think they speak English. So, that was it's 13 years ago. And it's true today. It's even more true. So really digging into my issues around control, my issues around my fear of losing my daughter, my fear of never being able to connect with my son again, the fear of the devastation and the disappointment. And that's mine. And until I could sit in that and look at it and really examine it and kind of dip my toe in that water of like devastation and disappointment and grossness, I don't think I could move from the place where I was still trying to control things to a place where I now feel real confident in my ability to handle whatever life throws at me, even if it means I will lose my child. And I don't say that lightly because it's been a long and really arduous journey to get here, but I can say that like, I don't live in constant fear anymore. I still have anxiety, but I have a lot of things that I do that I take care of myself first. And I think that's what I've learned, and self-care looks different to me depending on, where I'm at in my journey. So some people, I was speaking to a group of parents whose kids are at the same program that my son is at, and they're brand new. Their boys have only been there a month. And so they're like, when you ask these parents, like, how are you doing? They'll talk about their son, which always, I'm like, I didn't ask about your son. I asked about you. And so I had mentioned something about self-care, and the one mom was like, excuse me, I have 4 children. So I don't know what your situation is, but like, I don't really have time for that. Right. And you're laughing and I said, yeah, I totally get that. And I said, I think the thing I had to understand was that I couldn't take care of my children until I took care of myself. I couldn't. I thought I was doing that. I was busy. I was driving a lot of places. I had a lot of things on my calendar. But I wasn't taking care of them because you can't. I couldn't. Some people can't. I could not. So that really started. And I said to her, this is what it looks like for me. Drinking water. Like, I'm not talking about mani-pedis. Self-care is drinking water, sleeping 8 hours, going to bed at the same time every day, getting up at the same time every morning, and eating food. Like, that is my baseline. If I can do those things, then I at least stand a chance. So when I'm at the hospital and my daughter's unconscious and I have to sleep on that stupid little couch bed thing, I will get 8 hours there because it's critical, because I just can't function. and I will drink my water and I will do what I need to do so I can get food into my body. And if I'm really lucky, I can go outside and take a walk, and then I can handle whatever comes at me. So yeah, self-care to me means absolute basic needs.
I love that.
Okay, so that was a lot of talking.
No, that was great. And I think it's, even when I was preparing for this conversation and I was just thinking and reflecting too, like, what do I do for self-care? And, self-care doesn't look like what a lot of the world is portraying self-care to look like.
Like, we need a new word.
Yeah. And I even actually really started to like this conversation that was coming from this last year was community care. And what does it look like to come together like as a community to take care of each other and to show up for each other and support one another. And like you said, like asking, how are you doing? And not hearing, like asking those parents, like immediately they want to talk about their child or, what's going on in their life, but like really asking, like, how are you really doing? And you often get a completely different answer because people don't wait to listen, right? They don't want to really talk about how they're doing. And so I just appreciate you sharing, because it has been a really difficult year. And so I just honor you, and I appreciate you sharing, your story and your truth and, the experiences that you guys have walked through as a family. And I love both of your children so much. And I'm so grateful that they're in my life. And I appreciate how you all continue to show up. And like you said, I also really, I really appreciate the conversation that you were bringing up of not living in fear anymore. And I just kind of want you to expand, if you can, just a little bit more on like what that means to you today and kind of what that feels like.
Okay, beautiful. So I'll fast forward. So now it's August. Our son graduated his program in Arizona in March. So he's now been home. So then that added another layer. Like, we finally felt like we had our daughter kind of at a point where like she was recovering and she was doing really well and she was stabilizing. And then we threw our son back in the house. And then it's like, oh my gosh, right? Like, now we have the addict back. Like, are we all going to walk on pins and needles, or are we going to just assimilate him in, and are we all going to be able to adjust to this? And if we all do our own work, the hope is that we can all just kind of like bend and twist a little bit, and he will just fit right in, and we'll take really good care of each other. So I have to say that the thing that helped me get over the fear, which this is going to sound so obvious, but I'm going to say it anyways, is letting go of all the shit I can't control. And like, as a mother, there is a thing in my brain that is like, you're a shitty mom if you're not doing these things. Like, if you're not helping your kid register for ACT, and if you're not helping your daughter like navigate the world of marijuana, and like, if you're not checking them on Life 360, and if you're not forcing them to like get up at a certain time every day, it's been very hard for me to feel like a good mother and let go of control, because I think my relationship with control was like, that's what good moms do. Which maybe they do. What I have come to learn on the other side of letting go of a lot of that is the fear goes away, which is lovely, because the only thing controlling does is actually make me more anxious. Which, why does that happen? That's just like counterintuitive.
Seriously.
And then the second thing is, it was denting and harming my relationship with my kids. Like, those were the two things we definitely don't want to have happen. And I was creating that. And so when I stepped away, I call it surrender, because that word to me feels a little bit more gentle and a little bit more like, I don't know what the right word is, but I just like it better. I like surrender versus letting go. Like, I like surrender because to me, it's just like what's real right now? Like, is my son using right now? Right now, he's upstairs in his bedroom. Is he using right now? God, I hope not. I don't think so. Right? Is my daughter still alive? She sure as hell is. In fact, I was just talking to her before I got on here. She doing okay? Yes, she is. She's doing great. My husband's doing awesome. Like, we're talking to each, like, what is real in this very moment? And then when I take care of myself and I know what my reality is, and I'm present, then when things happen, because they're gonna, not because like our family's all that effed up, it's because things are going to happen, difficult things, I can respond then. And like, I knew that intellectually, but until I could practice it and constantly pull myself away from this like indulgence of control, that's that. And I still fight it today. It's all, my son is now wanting to go into the Air Force. It is all I can do to be like, okay, do you know when it starts? Do you know where basic training? Do you know how long it is? What's the GI Bill all about? What are you going to be doing? What's the ASVAB, right? Like, I can't. And just like letting that go. Okay, he'll figure it out. He is 18 years old. If he wants my help, he'll ask for it. And if I really can't stand it, then I can ask him if can I ask you a question? Can I help? Can I support? How can I be a part of this? And I can share about it. Say, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety around it. Could we have a conversation? Or could I do something? Would you give me something to do? And sometimes he looks at me and says, no, that's your problem. You sit in your anxiety. And I'll say, okay, just wanted you to know this is the impact it's having. So I think that's the biggest thing, is getting back to the relationship and making that the top priority.
Yeah. Yeah. That is powerful. And I hope helpful, for people who are listening, because I know that you are not the only one, right? No. And that letting go of control and releasing and surrendering, or letting go and finding that, I also like the word surrender. It's a little bit more like tranquil, like a little more like calming.
Yes.
Because letting go, I feel like you're already gripping so tight.
Like, it's almost like if you're holding a baby and you let go, like you would drop the baby. I don't know. It just feels very violent and like, I don't know, irresponsible to me, versus like surrendering is like, isn't that what Buddhists do? I don't know. Like, the Dalai Lama is a guy who surrenders, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm going to do. He seems pretty calm. He'd be a good dad.
Yes. Well, I love that. Thank you. And, so we got a little bit of time left. If anybody does have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat right now. I'm going to open up the chat just so I can see if there are any questions. But in that process, for the next part of the interview, I would just love for you to share, as you shared so graciously, some of your story of you being a parent with children, with teenagers, and what that has, been like for you. And I know tons of people in our community are parents or family members of teenagers. And so I would love for you to share just what have been some of what would be like your top 3 tips for parents today that maybe have a child that is struggling or going through a hard time, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you bet. And I do this I have a family program. And so these are the top 3. I actually have 4. Am I allowed to have an extra tip? So these are the top 4 things that I found to be. Thank you. You're so generous. When I decided to create a program for families, I sat with my husband and I said, okay, we've done 4 years of all of this therapy and all of this work. What the hell did we just learn? And we were able to kind of dissolve it down into these 4 basic things. And the first and most important, so if you hear nothing else, hear this: relationship before task. That has been a game changer for everything. And what that means, I didn't get it when I first heard it. I was like, what the hell does that mean? And I get it now. So let me see if I can just quickly distinguish what I mean when I say that. The idea is that you never risk the relationship over something like a task. So I have an example where my son totaled his car 2 weeks ago. And so he was stranded, asked me to come pick him up. And so I could have shown up from a place of task, like, you totaled the car. What were you doing? Tell me what happened. if I show up from a place of relationship, it is, are you okay? I hear you're really scared right now. I can hear the frustration or the anger that this is like you've totaled your car and now it's like you've got to figure something out. Because when I connect with him first, like which way would you want me to come at you if I was picking you up, right? You want me to like rub it in? Because now and I'm pissed. Like, don't get me wrong, that's an expensive mistake. And it's irresponsible, right? Like he was traveling too close and he couldn't stop in time. And okay, and I never let that be above the relationship. The relationship is always my top priority. So you show up from a place of connection. So that's my number one, onlyest thing. If you don't hear anything else after that, that's the number one thing. If that's enough, like if we can just do that with our kids, that would be amazing. If we get so far that we're like, awesome, we can do that, then the second thing I would say is like understanding the impact that we have on our kids and helping them to understand the impact they have on us. One of the things I work on a lot with my parents are like, what is your contribution? Like, how are you contributing to the thing? So like if my son is actively using and he's hiding in his bedroom and he doesn't come out and he's drinking alone, what am I doing that contributes to that? And being able to own that. I might be not confronting him and I can own that. I don't want to. It might be that I'm loose with my wallet and he's stealing money, right? And so I can own that I'm not making it hard for him to find cash or whatever. But always being able to like understand the impact that has on him is that like he actually said when we sent him away that he didn't think we'd ever do it. We actually had him transported, which is like when strangers show up at your house. And he got in the car with those guys and the guy said the first thing he said was like, I never thought my parents would do it. Right. And what that really was saying to him was that we didn't really believe in him. The minute he left, the minute we sent him to that program, he's like, oh shit, they do believe in me. Even though that was probably like the third most painful day of my life. Like it was awful and terrible, no good, very bad. And it changed everything. The third thing I would say is something that I really appreciated was somebody told me that the role of the parent is two things. It's to guide and teach. That's it. It's not to nag. It's not to prevent bad things from happening. It's not to save them from making mistakes. It's not to rescue them. It's not to control, fix, intervene, right? I can go on and on.
So hard.
I do all of them. That's not my job. My job is to guide and teach. So now I'm driving home with my son. I've just connected with him. How are you? He's frustrated. He's really feeling like the world is out to get him and he's a victim in all of this. How do I approach that now from a place of guidance and teaching? And so my question was like, well, so tell me, like, what would you do differently? It's subtle, right? It's not like, what would you do? How'd you do it wrong? Like, what did you learn today? It was like, what would you do differently if you could do it all over again? My job is to guide and teach. That's a guiding and teaching. That's not like a shaming or a nagging or like a guilting. And then the last thing that I'll share is to deepen, my thing. Are we still here?
Yep.
Okay, good. I just touched my phone and then it looked like something happened. The fourth thing is to deepen trust. So like if we're all getting along and we now have this healthier dynamic, we're able to talk about things, we're able to have conflict, healthy conflict, we're able to confront, we're able to share uncomfortable things with each other. Now we just really start to deepen that trust. So that's like the fourth and final frontier, I think, because when we can deepen the trust, we get the thing that almost every parent wants, which is influence. What do I want? I want my kids to call me. When they leave, I want them to text me. Like when they go off to college or the Air Force, oh my God, I'll get back to you on that one. Wherever my son ends up, I just want him to like reach out once in a while. I want to know what's going on. I love him and I want him to share with me. And the best thing in the world is when your kid comes to you and says, hey, what would you do? Are you kidding? That's like crack for moms, right? You're like, oh, you want to know what I would do? Let's sit down because I got some things, right? but they're never going to come to me if I haven't done, you know, the relationship before the task, knowing how I'm impacting, not my intention. What's my impact? What's my role? How did I guide and teach? And then how have I deepened that trust so that they do see me as somebody that they can share anything. Unconditional. All of it is unconditional.
So good.
Oh, I love it. Yay. Jazz hands.
Yes, right. So thank you. So good.
You're welcome.
I took away many things from that, so I appreciate the conversation. I'm sure others did as well. And I just, yeah, I do. I mean, I know that at the end of the day, this work, like you said, is a journey, right? It's a practice. It's something that you have to consistently show up and work on continuously, right? Like it's not just, it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just go away. It doesn't just automatically get better. But it is something that you can continue to work on. And something that I really try to live by is that when I know better, I try to do better.
I love that. That's yes. And there's a lot of space and forgiveness in that.
Yeah.
It's not that we all set out to do it wrong. Nobody sets out to do it wrong.
No.
And sometimes we don't get it right, and that's okay, because when we know better, we do better. I love that approach.
Yeah. So thank you. And before we go, so two things, we're going to announce our winner. But I would love for you to share. So I'm about to do the random draw for, well, let's do that first, and then I'll have you share, share what the book is, and then also how it relates to Jana.
Okay, beautiful.
Cool.
So this is the book that my daughter and I wrote right after, well, she was in treatment when we wrote this together. And the picture is a picture my son took of us. So we're actually on the cover, and it's called Unconditional, Learning to Navigate and Reframe Mental Illness Together. Yeah, so it took, like, I had already kind of written this. Piper had already been writing poetry and some really painful stuff while she had been in and out of hospitals. And then when she went away, I kind of like wrote my side of everything. And then we decided to like write the book that we wish somebody had written for us when we were going through all of this. So when she got out, I was like, are you sure? Because this is going to, like, this is going to be out there. It's our dirty laundry. What do you think? And she's like, let's do it. Actually, she didn't want to do it until the editor came back. We didn't have a title. And the editor came back and she's like, I got a title. And when I said, Piper, we've got a title, it's Unconditional, Piper was like, done. Let's do it. I love it. So yeah, the title was the clincher. So I'm excited to give this away.
She's so brave. So
I love her. She is.
So with that, I am going to quickly turn my screen around just to show everybody who the winner is. I like doing this for fun because then nobody knows that I'm cheating.
Just picking the people you like.
Right. So, can you see it? Wait. Oh, I have to click on it first. Okay, and the winner is Julie Keller. Yay, awesome. Julie. So I will get that book sent over to you, Julie. I don't know if you're watching live right now, but if you are, feel free to say hello in the chat. And I'm going to stop sharing now. But that's my fun little giveaway. So we're doing giveaways. All of our amazing speakers that have shown up and contributed their time over the last several weeks is all in contribution and connection to our Rise Together Strong fundraiser. So again, if you, thank you for participating in the conversation. And if you are feeling or willing to give or to donate or to share this conversation, send it to a friend, send it to a family member, and just help spread the word that we are working on reviving Rise Together. I would greatly appreciate it. But before we go, I again appreciate you, Allison. Thank you for sharing so much of your journey and your conversation. I know we could literally talk here for hours. But I would love for you to share again what Jana is and how parents could, or anybody, get connected with you.
You bet. So Jana stands for You Are Not Alone. And I created a Facebook group. It's closed. And I wanted a place for parents like me who have teens and young adults that are struggling to have a place to go and talk about it and write about it and post memes about it. And so that's what I created. I think you can search for it's on Facebook, so you can search for it. And in order to come in, I just ask that you fill out the application, because I'm trying to keep it really safe for us to share. So I don't want people to just come in and like, stare through the window and be like, oh, look at what they're doing. I really do. It's important to me that it is filled with parents who are going through this journey, or even family members that think that they can help. If you know me, you know my work is about working on ourselves. And so those are the people that we really want to come in. If we're going to be working on ourselves to be our very best selves, then Jana is for you. And that's where we're going to hang out and do that kind of work.
Love that. I think it's so important, because there's so many people who feel like they don't have a safe space to share.
There isn't. And there's so much shame in being a parent of a kid who struggles. And, I'm not going to be able to take that away. That's part of this journey, is letting go of some of that and realizing that, like, your kid has struggles and it may or may not have anything to do with you. And until you work on yourself, it doesn't really, like, they have their own journey and you have yours. So yeah. So we created that space. And I also understand that many parents don't want people to know what's going on in their homes. So this was the place where I thought, okay, you don't have to look over your shoulder. You can just come in, you can lurk. I have people that I know that just lurk, and they do have troubled kids, but they're like, I don't want to write anything. I still don't feel safe yet. I don't feel comfortable. It's cool. It's fine. Just show up. If you've got troubled kids, come in and lurk. You're welcome to show up and just check it out.
Love that. And how can people find you?
My website is bethoughtly.com, because Thoughtly was already taken. So sad. So we had to go with bethoughtly.com. I'm on Facebook. Thoughtly is on Facebook. And my Instagram is at t.hotley. So t.hotley. I'm not on LinkedIn very much anymore. So, but yeah, my website, all the buttons are on there, and they can find my email and my phone number as well.
Cool. Well, thank you, Allison. I am so grateful for you and this conversation tonight. This was just meant a lot to me. So I thank you. And anybody, if you have questions, of course, you can continue to drop them in the chat or reach out to Allison or myself directly. But thank you again. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night and a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all the work that you guys do.
Thanks, Allison.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.